Hey guys, welcome back to Rob's Arcade. Thank you for tuning in. We've got a really awesome episode today. It's going to be a really great midweek breakdown. Make sure you don't go anywhere. I'm going to go grab some comic books and I'll be right back, guys. Hang tight.
Rob's Arcade, Rob's Arcade, where the games get played and the games get saved so they can be played on another day. Rob's Arcade.
All right, guys, thanks for tuning in and hanging out here on Rob's Arcade. I'm your host, of course, Rob French, and it's going to be a very cool, very big episode here on Rob's Arcade today. Of course, it's Wednesday. We got the midweek breakdown, but not only is it Wednesday, it's Wednesday, March 30th, which, if you don't know why, it's a very special day, and I'll get to all of that later on in this episode, so hang out. We're also going to talk about Moon Knight a little bit, the new Marvel Studios Disney Plus show that just dropped today. We'll take a look at all the comic books I read last week, which is a pretty hefty stack. We got some new stuff in there as well as some pretty cool retro stuff. So definitely going to want to stick around, take a look at that. And then we'll look at the comic books I picked up today for New Comic Book Day. So yeah, guys, I don't know why we're sitting around out here. Let's go ahead, let's get inside and check some of this stuff out. This sounds like it's going to be a good one. All right, guys, like I said, we got so much to do today. Let me put these in first here. All right, there we go. Like I said, guys, we got so much to do today. I don't even know where to start first. I guess we'll start where I started my day today, and that was waking up to a new Disney Plus show from Marvel Studios, Moon Knight. It's really great. Wednesdays have always been one of my favorite days. It seems like Disney kind of goes with Wednesday for their show drop, whether it's a Star Wars or a Marvel show. Those two franchises typically land on Wednesday. So it's just a lot of fun. Wednesday's a great day. You wake up, whether it's your Bad Batch or, your Mandalorian or your WandaVision, you wake up on Wednesdays, you start your day, get to the comic shop, maybe shoot a little YouTube video, maybe watch a little YouTube video, whatever. And it's just a lot of fun. Wednesdays are great days. Great to have some new, Marvel comic book content available, on Disney Plus again. So far, it's a weird show. I'm not going to go into any spoilers or talk too much about the show. Let you guys watch it for yourself. But a very weird show. I don't know if you guys have ever read the comic book. I got a reprint here of the first issue, The Criminally Insane Bushman, as well as just a couple of miscellaneous issues here from the 90s. And I've read these recently, and it's a weird book. It's a very strange book. If you've never had a chance to read Moon Knight, it's a very strange read, and it's a very strange show. I've actually got it on in the background now, watching it for the third time, I think, today. And it'll be one of those I'll watch, I think, quite a few times, even after the show has completed, just to make sure I got everything and I didn't miss anything, which is fun because there are a lot of comic books like that as well, where part of the fun is rereading them. I have some comics where I might read them once, bag them, board it, put it away, and I might not think about it for a while. But then there are certain issues I know in certain, runs that I'm going to go back and story arcs. I'm going to go back and reread and make sure I picked up all the little ins and outs. So far, very cool. I like seeing Poe Dameron losing his mind a little bit. We're so used to seeing, him with his stuff together and leading the rebel army. So, he's playing this character is a little bit schizophrenic and maybe multiple personality disorder kind of a thing. So it's a little weird at first, a little strange, very much like I said, like the comic book. But, we get a great look at Moon Knight. And I think, like I said, once the show has run its course, it's going to be one of those things you go back and start to, even the very beginning, the very first shot of this show is very strange and very interesting and such a very odd and ominous kind of tone for the show. Either that or Ethan Hawke is just like a really big fan of Die Hard. I don't know which one it is, but it was a very, very interesting opening choice for the series run. So we'll see what happens. So far, I like it. But, so far it's just one episode and there's not really a whole lot not to like about it. Uh, Also today, like I said, is a big day. It's an important day. It's March 30th. And if you're wondering why that's an important day, excuse me, these seltzers, man, they're good, but they give you the burpees. If you're wondering why the 30th of March is such an important day, I don't know where you were back in 1990 on this day. You might not have even been born yet. You might have not even been a thought at this point. But on this day, back in 1990, March 30th, one of the greatest comic book films made its screen debut and also propelled a indie comic book even further into the limelight to the point where the franchise is still relevant to this day. And I'm talking about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, okay? I actually have a cool book. We'll look at that here in a moment that I picked up today. But the reason why this is so important to me, and I did a little story on one of my other videos, and I'm going to jump into this a little bit on here as well because it's one of those things that it just hit at the right moment at the right time for me. I think if I had been a few years older, it might have missed, and if I had been a few years maybe too young, I might not have appreciated the franchise as much as I did, and as much as I still do to this day. I still love Turtle Power. Been watching the movies. I watched a bunch of films yesterday. I'm watching all the originals today, celebrating 32 years of Turtle Power on the big screen. And it was a big moment. I mean, there are a lot of movies out there that, comic book films, they spent years trying to get on the big screen. Batman, Superman, even today with the X-Men, Avengers, how many decades that these guys had to endure before they actually got to be on the big screen. The Ninja Turtles, man, they hit the ground, and within a couple of years, they were on the big screen, and they were like the hottest thing since sliced bread. And it was just really, at that time, I was about 10 years old, and it just really hit right. I mean, like, I just got it out, like, G.I. Joe's, Transformers were kind of fading out. I was just really getting into like action figures and playtime, and here come the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles by Playmates, one of the coolest toy lines like ever created. Some of the coolest little mutant. I'm just like a big fan of Swamp Thing, the Toxic Avenger, like those really weird, crazy, campy comic book type movies. And so when the Ninja Turtles hit the screen in the cartoons in the toy aisle with all these weird mutant, trash can men and like mutant mosquito guys and stingrays, it was awesome. It was like everything my imagination like had ever wanted. The show, the cartoon was amazing. Just saying the name was a lot of fun. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I was always a fan of the comic books. Before I even really got into comics, some of my first comics were like some of the black and white graphic novels of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle works by Eastman and Laird, the original stuff. Kind of like we have today in like compilation graphic novels where they put the whole run in like one book. It was like a compilation of all their great works and like a bunch of notes and just really cool stuff. And that was one of the first comics I ever had. And the Ninja Turtles didn't even have different colored headbands. They all had like red headbands, and there was really no way to tell them apart other than the weapons that they chose to use. Then I remember the film, coming out and begging my dad to take me to see it. And I was looking at the calendar. I wasn't even really sure. I know I went to go see it on a Friday night. And March 30th, 1990 was a Friday night. There's a very good chance, and I'm almost willing to put money on the fact that I most likely saw the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie opening night. I'm almost like I would put money on that. I'm almost 100% certain that that's what happened. I can't imagine that movie coming out and not begging my dad to see that movie and going a week or 2 weeks after it came out. And then also my father was really big into taking us to the movies. I mentioned that in a couple videos earlier on my channel, which if you haven't watched, go back and check those out. They're pretty fun. So being that my dad always took us to the theater and that it was one of my favorite things, and like I said, it was Friday night. I know I went to go see this movie. I'm pretty sure I saw it opening night. I'm almost like 100% positive. The interesting thing was I was 10 years old. It was 1990. I was 10 years old. And my dad had taken my sister to stay at a relative's. I think it was one of his family members, and she was going to have like a sleepover. And he got a page on the way to the movie theater. So when we get there, he gets on the payphone. This is all 1990s technology, pagers and payphones, and called his family member. And my sister was having like a homesick, kind of like a mild panic moment. I want to go home. I want to go home. So my dad, was like, we have to leave the theater. We have to turn around and go. And I'm like, you're crazy. Like, we're here. We're at the theater. Like, I'm inches away from seeing the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles live action movie, and you're telling me no? So my dad wasn't even like, I've told this story before. I mentioned like he's stuck between a rock and a hard place. I don't even want to say like he was stuck between a rock and a hard place. It was more like he was just stuck between the worst two things, which is two kids on the verge of having a nervous breakdown. My sister, needed to leave, and he needed to go pick her up, and I really wanted to see the Ninja Turtles movie. So, against better judgment, my dad decided the best thing to do was to go pick up my sister. But he bought me a movie ticket and some popcorn and a drink, and he got my seat, sat me down. I think he had a discussion with the usher, which I think I've left out in previous conversations with this story, but I think he did talk with the usher because he had to get in without his ticket and explain, like, I'm just getting my son situated. So there was probably some, like, I mean, I doubt the guy was really watching me, but, I'm sure there was, like, some communication, like, hey, my son's, like, in there by himself. Hopefully he was saying something like that to watch me. I don't know. Anyhow, my dad sat me down, told me don't talk to anybody, don't leave with anybody, don't do da 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 da. Sit there, watch the movie. When the movie's over, get up, meet me in the lobby, and, we'll go home. So I did just that, and the movie blew my mind. It was not just like, fun and amazing because it was the Ninja Turtles and it was, just one of my favorite things at that time, but it was actually like a really good movie. I think it still holds up to this day, and I think it's the closest thing to the original work that Peter Eastman, or is it Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird actually put out originally. Like those two guys, what they put out originally, I think really mirrors very well what that first movie was. Very dark, very gritty, really about these brothers and just this evil Shredder guy, Shredder, meeting his death at the end, very much like he did in the comic book. I mean, it was very cool, very, very well done. And I got to see it by myself at 10 years old. So I've always appreciated this cool like trifecta of like, not only was it my favorite thing at the time, and not only was it a good movie, but I got to watch it by myself, and it just made for a really fun memory. It's still to this day one of my favorite memories of not only comic book movies, but just going to the movies in general. The very first movie I ever saw. There's just a lot of cool things about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles that I just hold very dear to my heart. So I looked at the calendar and I found out that the movie was coming out, or the anniversary was coming up soon when the movie came out. And I just wanted to kind of like, throw this into my usual Rob's Arcade jibber, jabber, blibber, blabber. I don't know if you guys have ever seen it. If you haven't, definitely give it a whirl. Let me know what you think. Hit that comment section and tell me what you think. I like the new ones. The new Ninja Turtle movies. They're fun. It's a little different. I appreciate it. I like it. Even the sequels to the original, they're okay. There's nothing like the original 1990 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I think a lot of times when people mention comic book movies, that one gets left out. That one and The Crow. Like no one really thinks about those two films, but they're both, they're comic book movies. I mean, let's be honest. That's where the work came from. It didn't start off as a cartoon. It didn't start off as an action figure. It came from the pages of a black and white comic book. And I think a lot of times when people think of their favorite comic book movie, even in my generation, A lot of times movies like Superman, Batman with Michael Keaton, even Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire, the X-Men films. I feel like a lot of times those get brought up as their favorite superhero and comic book movies. But we can't forget about the unsung heroes like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Howard the Duck. There's a lot of guys out there who started off as comic book heroes and eventually made their way to the big screen. Not many as quick as the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Those guys, like they shot right to the big screen. Them and Spawn, but Spawn didn't do that great. Spawn, that's a whole nother episode altogether. But anyway, guys, thanks for letting me share that with you. I think we're going to go ahead. We're going to wrap up this part right here. This is just going to be a little like break. We'll make this part 1. We'll come back with part 2 to Rob's Arcade. So don't go anywhere. Hang tight. We're going to see what comic books I read this past week. We got some Ninja Turtle stuff in there floating around, I'm sure, as well as checking out what I read this week. So don't go anywhere. Hang tight. Remember, it's never goodbye. Always to be continued. And until next time, don't spend your quarter anywhere else. I'll be right back, guys. Take care.